Hello and welcome back to TF3. Today we are going to be talking Stefano Pioli's Inter Milan, and I'm joined by one man, and that is Nico Morales on Twitter, Nico_Morales. Nico, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well. How about yourself, Dave?
Yeah, very good. And Inter Milan this season have been a breath of fresh air. The start of the season was quite interesting with Frank de Boer in charge. Was cut around November time. His Inter side was a little bit boring. He had falling out with the board with the signing of Gabriel Barbosa. But Nico, what do you think it was down to? Why did they let him go, the Dutchman, go so soon into a season?
Yeah, I think you look at some of the player comments like Mauro Icardi and Jeffrey Kondogbia talking about how they needed an Italian manager to come in and really understand the league. And I think if you look at some of the coaches that have had success there in the past, like the current United manager Jose Mourinho, you have to have sort of a. You don't necessarily have to be Italian, obviously, because Jose Mourinho had some success there, and other coaches have had success there in the past. But there's a specific diaspora to the league that makes the play style very unique, and the success that Inter have had under Stefano Pioli has come from adopting and sort of embracing that Italian style of football, of being very entertaining, being very back and forth. They're able to break with their offensively, gifted players such as Mauro Icardi, Antonio Candreva, Perisic, and Ever Banega. So they've had some success sort of embracing the Italian style, and they really, I don't think De Boer had a good enough grasp on that. I don't think he had enough time to really understand and adjust to the league. So it's a perfect storm of ideals, not for Frank de Boer, but perhaps for Stefano Pioli to come in.
It was an interesting one anyway. Frank de Boer's Ajax, they were good, but the fans of Ajax that watched them every single week got a bit bored of his sort of style, and the nickname De Boring came out of that, of course. Anyway, Pioli's Inter Milan have been fantastic this season in Serie A since the Italian has taken over. They've created more chances than any other team in Europe's top five leagues, but also since the Italians taken over, only Napoli have scored more goals in Serie A. We're going to go through tactics, we're going to talk some key cogs, and then we're going to finish off with a little bit of predictions of where Inter Milan are going to go this season. This season they've played a system that's looked like a 4-2-3-1 with the ball and the 4-4-1-1 without the ball. But arguably as well, it could be described as a 4-2-1-3 with Perisic and Candreva joining Icardi up front and taking that goal-scoring burden off the Argentinian. The Argentinian this season has been so good. He's been Inter Milan's main man, scored 20 goals in Serie A this season and grabbed himself 8 assists. The thing you mentioned before under De Boer, Icardi was everything about this Inter Milan attack. He was directly involved in 62.5% of their goals. That has significantly dropped under Pioli to 38.5%. What do you think that's down to, Nico? Do you think it's down to getting the best out of the likes of even Perisic on the counter-attack or Candreva?
Yeah, certainly someone like him. Also, the explosion, or not explosion, but sort of the resurgence of the form of someone like Ever Banega. We've spoken about previously on TF3, and I believe on your podcast, talking about how Unai Emery has sort of found his new Ever Banega and Javier Pastore in a number 10 that's allowed to roam and create wherever he sees fit. And the same thing happens under Banega. They have a specific. It's sort of Italian football is sort of almost I don't want to insult it by calling it archaic, but it is sort of older style of football in a way that there's a defense and there's an attack. There's a 4 or 5 back, and there's a front 4 that focuses on attacking, and similar things can be said about Stefano Pioli's Inter Milan in the sense that they break with the likes of Candreva and Perisic and Icardi, and then Banega is allowed to create and be the link from defense to attack. Well, someone like Kondogbia is that intermediary, as well as someone like Agliadini is more of that defensive minded midfielder and helps out in disrupting the opposition's attack and limiting the risk that those players expose the team by going forward so much. But Ever Banega is someone that has rediscovered his best form, like he was at Sevilla, and that's mainly due to the role that he's been giving under Pioli.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one in this system. He's given the free roll. He can drift laterally, he can drift vertically. He pretty much finds pockets of space wherever he wants. And I think the game against Atalanta showcased Ivan Banega as a playmaker, pretty much directly involved in every single one of the goals. The first goal was his free kick that was turned in by Icardi that hit the wall. The second goal was a long ball from sort of the left wing position. Perisic had joined Icardi as a second striker. Banega picked up the ball on the left wing like he does. He drifts absolutely everywhere. Played that ball up the pitch. Perisic flicked it on. Icardi turns it in. The third goal was a short corner that he whipped into the box. Icardi scored again. He scored the fourth goal, scored the sixth goal on the seventh goal, and registered the assist for the fifth goal for Gagliardini. So it was one of those performances. It was classic Ivan Banega, and he's so pivotal for this team. And I feel like with Pioli is set up with these two strong defensive midfielders. It was the same thing at Sevilla, allows Ivo Banega to do what he can do. The one player that we spoke about before, Kondogbia, for me, at Monaco, was one of the best central midfielders up and coming in the world. He was physical, he was aggressive, he'd win the ball back. And it's quite interesting that he's been hot and cold in Serie A. The game against Atalanta that I watched, Kondogbia was the main man. He killed everything in that final third. He was holding, Gagliardini was playing more of the jumping role, pressing in midfield, and every single time the ball was deep, Kondogbia would shake off his tackle or win the ball back and give it to a teammate, give it to usually Ivo Banega. But you sort of have a different opinion on Kondogbia. You know, his performance at the weekend against Torino was a little bit not as good as the standards that he set against Atalanta.
Yeah, he was dispossessed a number of times, and I think this is something that we've seen from Kondogbia is that, like you said, he's been hyped to be one of the best central midfielders coming around, and someone that's enjoying a similar form like he did at Monaco right now is Bakayoko, and someone that's possibly going to see a big move to a European side coming this summer. But similar things were said of Jeffrey Kondogbia, and although he certainly maintains that quality in certain aspects, there are times when he's in those central midfield areas, and that's not where you want to lose the ball, and that's what he tends to do. But he is a physical midfielder. He is a driving force. Like I've compared him to Yaya Toure or a younger Yaya Toure in the past. But I think if he can shore up those aspects of his game and not losing the ball in such key areas of the pitch and sort of moving the ball and understanding the concept that the ball moves much faster than an individual player can dribble it, no matter how fast you are, how big you are, then he can live up to the expectations that many people have given him. So a solid player, but work still needs to be done there.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. You remember Sissoko at Liverpool? It reminds me a lot. Kondogbia reminds me a lot of Sissoko at Liverpool when he was at Valencia. Such a combative, aggressive player. At Liverpool, he did quite well, but his career has fallen from that. So it's an interesting one where Kondogbia will go. Will he become Yaya Toure, or will he become another Sissoko and drop out of European football? Moving on to their fullbacks is quite an interesting situation as well. And Saldi looks to get forward on the left-hand side, and D'Ambrosio usually holds his position. It's quite like Barcelona with Eric Abidal at left fullback, but the other way around, where the left back pulls up and the right back sits a little deeper. Are you impressed with that sort of pivot that Pioli's put in at Inter Milan?
Yeah, I like Ansaldi a lot. I think he had a relatively short spell at Atletico Madrid, and I think similar things have been seen possibly from whoever saw him and demand that he be recruited to Atletico Madrid, that Stefano Pioli has seen, in the sense that he has some good delivery, he has some good offensive capability that he can deliver in the final third, and they're using him to the best of his ability. So credit to him, and I think maybe perhaps Italy is a place that he can find a home.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, with Ansaldi pushing on as well, gives the likes of Perisic the freedom to become a second striker. In terms of the goals as well, Icardi obviously is top scorer for Inter Milan since Pioli took over with 10 goals. But Icardi and Candreva have been putting in some really good work, both grabbing a number of goals. Perisic has grabbed 6, Candreva 5, but Candreva is the most creative player as well. He's sort of like your classic Italian right winger, not very good at beating a man, but excels in the crossing department. Nico, in terms of his ability, do you liken him to David Beckham?
An Inter David Beckham. What you're saying about him not being to get past his man a lot of the time is definitely true. Sometimes he's dependent on his pace, and sometimes that pace isn't there. Sometimes that pace isn't good enough to beat the opposition fullback. But he delivers an excellent cross, and I think one thing that you mentioned was that this system is sort of left-sided, and I think that accentuates the best qualities of one of their recently purchased players, in Ivan Perisic. Perisic was fantastic at his previous clubs, and him having the ability to cut inside with someone like Ansaldi on his side really accentuates his best qualities, and like you said, sort of a second striker. But as we've mentioned, alleviating that goal scoring necessity from someone like Mauro Icardi, who Inter use in a variety of mediums, in the sense that sometimes they use him as a target man, and sometimes they use him running in behind, and that's why he's an excellent player that will probably move on in the summer, and someone that really reminds me of a striker in the mold of a Lewandowski, because he has the ability to hold up the ball and bring other players into the game, at the same time using his pace and using his physicality and using his strength to run in behind and have the intelligence to run in behind and use those runs. I mean, he's a player that those strikers that can create their own shot, as he does, are ones that I think we can consistently associate with some of the best in the world of football. So excited to see what comes of Icardi, both from the rest of the season and as he moves on.
Sorry about that, just dropped a little bit of a sneeze. In terms of predictions, let's finish off with what we're going to talk. Inter Milan at the end of the season, what do you reckon in terms of league position, Nico?
Probably where they are right now. Probably stick behind Napoli. I think, or they're actually not that. If I can retract that, they're actually not that far behind Napoli. So perhaps they catch him, perhaps they don't. But I think Sarri has consistently reached the heights under. In his time at Napoli, so I'd be disappointed if they didn't finish in the top three, which obviously for Serie A is automatic Champions League or not automatic, but it's Champions League qualification. So but I think Pioli, given a full year at Inter with the players that he has right now, which is a really good squad, is give him a full year, and who knows what they can do. Maybe they can even challenge for a league title once Max Allegri leaves Juventus. But one thing that we regretted to or failed to mention was Gary Medel's usage in the center defense, like it was under Marcelo Bielsa at was it Lyon or Marseille? Marseille,
Marseille.
sorry, yeah, Marseille.
It's an interesting one as well. He is playing next to Miranda. Gary Medel plays as more of a ball player. Miranda is classic Atletico, physical, going to win the ball and then get it out. But yeah, in terms of Inter, I kind of agree with you. I think the Champions League spots this season are a little bit far from their grasp in terms of Icardi probably to move on in the summer. Nico, do you think there's anyone in the squad that they could pick out and replace the Argentinian goal scorer?
Yeah, I think they have all the pieces to sort of rejank the formation after someone like Icardi leaves. Someone that they bought in the summer that hasn't seen very much time is Gabriel Barbosa. But if they can possibly, become even more Italian and focus on the defending and then the breaking, with someone like Barbosa, who can't really be used as a target man, but certainly sort of in the Aguero mold in the sense that he is a very low center of gravity, very quick player and sort of intelligent player, and possibly creating his own shot in a different way as well. If they can rejank that formation and sort of pander to his best qualities, then we can see the best of Gabriel Barbosa and possibly the best of Inter Milan.
So that's been that, guys. Of course, go and follow Nico on Twitter, Nico_O_Morales, for some more tactical fun. But that's been that for us today. If you want to check out more of the front three, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Until next time, see you later.